So last weekend was the first national qualifier for the OP Beyblade X circuit, and in today's video I'm just going to be covering a few of my matches from the group stage along with some of my own and the community's thoughts on how it all unfolded. To start off with, the venue, amazing. The only thing that can make Beyblade tournaments more fun is arcade machines you can play in between your matches. In fact, while there, I even managed to set the record on the basketball game despite not touching one for like 4 years, which was pretty cool. But you're not here for basketball, so let's just get straight into the matches. Okay, so this first game, I can't even lie. It was one of these. It was one of those games you can't feel proud of because you didn't win. Your opponent beat themselves. Quick shout out to this guy though. The El Drago Gauntlet, crazy aura, crazy. And it's so sick, like it spins in the gauntlet and everything. I don't have footage to show you, but this guy went in on this. It looks so sick, so massive shout out to that guy.
Spin finish, collect your base. 3, 2, 1, go shoot. Contact. 3, 2, 1, collect your base. 3, 2, 1, go shoot. Contact. 5. Spin finish, collect your base. Okay, when ready. 3, 2, 1, go shoot.
Unfortunate end for Aero. I don't even know what happened. He just walked in. He just waltzed into the pocket. That was so stupid, but
okay, when ready.
yeah.
3, 2,
Aero
1,
thing.
go shoot. Perfect. Contact.
Next up on table 3, we've got Fairly Relevant and Shafal.
Spin finish. Okay. When ready. 3, 2, 1, go shoot. Perfect. Contact. Slow and painful. And spin finish.
Okay, so this match was against Big B FPS, another local from the London communities. That Rhino's got so much power, it terrifies me. And as you can see, absolutely slammed. Didn't stand a chance, got extremed. So this last battle was kind of funky for me. I didn't really agree with the ruling, which I'll explain why. But long story short, you can see Aero clips Tyranno. Aero comes off the extreme line. You can actually see if there was no contact made, it would have smoothly went around. But it actually clipped the ratchet and went basically into the extreme pocket and also changed Tyranno's direction. So bit salty about the call. I did try and appeal with the judge. I tried, scrub through it, put it in slow-mo. He didn't agree. I asked others just to make sure I wasn't, just being salty and whatnot. Most others seemed to agree with me. Well, everyone did, so let me know your thoughts on that. Do you think it should have been a clip or not?
Okay, when ready. 3, 2, 1, go. Perfect. Contact. It is. Both ready. On 3, 2, 1, go shoot.
Can I get Jeff Sully and Payback, please? Jeff Sully and Payback to table 2.
And collect your base. Good game.
I completely forgot about this, and I'm only realizing while I'm putting together everything. But I forgot to mention when I got home, I did some rare bay openings. Just I guess as like drown my sorrows, hope for something good. And I actually got a silver Cobalt Drake and an Aero Pegasus, which was pretty awesome. So here's the footage from that. If you've been thinking about buying Beyblades, you should definitely check out Mall of Toys. They have a huge selection of Beyblade X, including CX pre-orders, and better yet, they will price match, so you won't find it anywhere cheaper. USA customers also qualify for free shipping at the moment, with international orders available. They've been a great source of Beyblades for the community, so if you need a trusted seller, I highly recommend you check them out. To get 5% off your order and help the channel going forward, check out the link in the description. So those were my first matches from the group stage. Unfortunate, but game's the game, so I'll just have to step it up next time. Now, it's time to discuss the finer details of the event. Now, while I think everyone can agree that it was such a fun experience, there were some pretty major flaws that were fairly universal in quite a few players' games. And because we all want OPE to take off and do even better, I'll also be giving my 2 cents along with any community suggestions that were talked about, just to try and incite some change in the future. But also because I don't want to essentially just shit talk OPE and not give any kind of feedback, because that's just pointless. Okay, the first thing I just wanted to cover was judging. Now, in quite a few matches, players were upset with the calls being either different to others when they were in the exact same scenario, whether they be awarded a point or no point reshoot, or something similar what happened in my case as well, which is being too close to call. Which, hey, Beyblade X, it's hard to keep track of. I mean, even playing casually, you'll have moments where you don't know if it's a dual spin finish, if it's like a exact double burst, or if there was a burst and it went into the pocket at the same time or after. So it's going to happen in competitive. You just can't avoid it. That being said, knowing how crazy Beyblade X is, it should realistically be mandatory for the judges to record launches as well as the games. The biggest reason for this, for the judges to record, is one, with the recent changes of things being too close to call, reshoot, I can get it in like cases where it's like double burst or burst pockets, things like that. But if we want Beyblade X to be more sport-like or recognized sport-like, then we should probably start judging sport-like as well. We have so many people who turn up to events and can provide like 4K 60 FPS video to rewatch matches, and quite a few times it's not really taken into consideration, or the call's been made and sort of decision over, live with it. And also, it's encouraged to record your matches at these events to help promote OPE. So in my head, it makes sense to use the same footage to make calls, especially if they are split-second calls, because Beyblade X, a lot of the time, you quite literally need to slow down your footage. Now, obviously, we can't stop, the entire event to upload the video into CapCut, slow it down so it's smooth, and then carry on, because that takes too much time. But you can pretty reasonably scrub through footage to check if there's contact, no contact, if a burst happened before or after a pocket, and things like that. So I do think cameras need to be mandatory, even if the footage is deleted after the game, just so they have reference. And lastly on this point, players are not allowed to judge. Now, I get it. You don't want bias, you don't want the potential advantage for scouting if the judge is going to see, half of the event's deck or a quarter, depending how the groups are split. So there is actual justification behind that, and I'm sure most, and even I, can agree that there is cases where players shouldn't judge, especially if it's like the end championship. Players definitely shouldn't judge. There needs to be non-bias in that. But when there's 3 judges where, in the nicest way, they are clearly not all going by the same rules, maybe it's a bit of inexperience or just miscommunication, but I could have easily, not just me, there's a lot of people, you could easily point out probably 5 or 6 recognized and respected, trusted hosts as well as stand-in judges, which would have been more than willing to probably help out, because they get more stuff to film and post, because again, a lot of people are recording for their own channels, so it'd be a nice perspective as well. But also the hours of time that can be saved.
You want to grow the old collection you found rotting away in the basement, or even from scratch, Base Station has you covered. Although Burst is over, they still stock a few select models along with Beyblade X and a ton of Metal Series Beyblades, from Metal Fusion all the way up until Fury. So if you're looking for a trusted and reliable source for Beyblades, check out basestation.com and use code SOLICAL for a discount at checkout.
Now, just piggybacking off the judging, I just want to quickly talk about the stadium setup. Now, despite on arrival what looked like dozens of stadiums available, only 3 were in use for the duration of the entire event, with Group B getting 2 eventually, which meant Group B were always ahead by a round because it never alternated, so that Group A had the double stadium setup as well. So normally, just for example, there's a break in tournaments after a group stage, so players can go eat, use the toilet, have a fresh air break, whatever it may be. But in this case, because Group B was finishing anywhere from like 20-30 minutes ahead, after group stage end, for example, they would be able to go grab food, get a drink, fresh air, toilet, whatnot, refresh, come back, only to find Group A has just completed a round. So now they have to wait another half an hour for them to, reasonably go get food, eat, fresh air, blah, blah, blah. So now you've got one group eagerly waiting and another, out and about. So now you have to wait even longer to get finals started. Now, while this isn't like the biggest issue, it's, people getting food and whatnot, but it is definitely a mental strain with how long the rounds were between each one. So, I mean, you were playing a game and basically waiting an hour, and depending on what group you're in, I guess. But yeah, big mental strain on the players. So I think just to help that, it needs to be 4 stadiums minimum. Or if they can't do 4, everybody needs to be in Swiss. Okay, so for this tournament, you had to lock in a deck using 12 parts. Not necessarily 4 bays, but 12 parts you can alternate between. So you have your 3-on-3 as standard, and then essentially if you wanted to have 3 extra blades to swap out, or 3 extra ratchets, 3 extra bits, or a mix of, 2 blades, 1 bit, whatever it may be, you can pick some extra parts to lock in. Now, I get the idea of wanting to have a locked in deck just for, stopping scouting, issues like that, but when you've got 12 parts to check and you're only using 9, you're essentially wasting time looking around to see it. It's a lot of checking between rounds, and obviously to make sure everything's upheld. So I think either just having a normal 3-on-3 deck and locking it, or free game would be better, because also a lot of people who had the additional 3 parts were basically locked in to just using the 3 they started with. So it was kind of pointless, but I guess if some people used it, then it's not entirely. But it is just something to maybe note. Do we need to lock in decks, or more parts than we need? The countdown. Now, the countdown is just a regular, countdown from 3 seconds once a bay enters a pocket. If it hasn't jumped out, then you can't claim self-revive mechanic. Now, the only problem I have with this is that judging will never be 100% fair, as reaction times play a huge part of making split-second decisions, especially in Beyblade X. Not every judge will start the clock immediately after a bay enters a pocket, because if you blink or look away for a second, you might be a second behind or half a second behind, so it varies quite a lot, making for some kind of iffy revive calls. Now, in standard TT practice, it's a lot easier to just let the blade spin out, because the pockets essentially hug the blade, just causing stamina drain much faster. Although in Hasbro, it could be pretty hit and miss regarding self-revives, even on ratchets like 160. So I think a better alternative to this would either be simply let them spin out, or give the players the option to concede, and if their bay goes in the pocket and they choose to just concede instead of letting it spin out, just end the game. And if it hops back in after, they've already conceded, so there can't be any complaints. It'd be the same as putting your hand in too early, grabbing your bay, and the other pops out of one of the TT pockets. At that point, you've conceded, you've accepted loss, you took your bay out, you need to charge it. With how many people were there and the Swiss format was used, there was a certain cutoff when you knew you could not make top cut anymore. No matter what you did, no matter how hard you tried, what you changed, you could not affect the outcome. So, and especially when we had the situation we did where the rounds were taking a really long time, a lot of people had their max amount of losses and then just went home, which caused a lot of buy-ins and people not getting to play matches because people went home. So not only does it suck for the person losing, but even the person who still has a chance or just wants to play for fun no longer can. So now they've waited around for who knows how long for no reason. I think a pretty decent solution to this, while being quite brutal if honest, is the double elimination method, which was used in the Scotland tournament, the big Scotland tournament that loads of people went to. Yeah, it sucked going out in 2 rounds if you bombed. Like, don't get me wrong, like, it happened to me. But knowing that if you lose, you can either leave and, you know, depending how far you traveled, get home at a reasonable hour, or know there's no, you know, like mental pressure or strain to stick around and, you know, basically play for no reason. It's just, there's less weight on your shoulder. You can sort of let loose a bit more, knowing there's no more stress to come. But yeah, to make up for this, top 8, top 16, make it double elim. Those who make it through, they get, you know, either an extra lifeline or an extra chance to play. It's 1st to 7 anyway, so you already get, you know, probably an extra launch at least, depending how your game plays out. And then also, because of the double elim and how everything would be streamlined, the side events could actually be played. So unfortunately, because of the time restraints, by the time the event finished, the side event couldn't happen, just because, one, obviously the store, if they've, you know, rented the space for a certain time period, they can't now just extend over for no reason. The host and the judges and any organisers helping set it up, they've also got to get home and probably had, like, you know, trains, flights booked, things like that. So it just sucked. It couldn't happen. But you've also got to remember, with these side events, with these big tournaments, they're more catered towards those who didn't win or lost early, and they want another chance of winning or just playing again. So when you get knocked out and you're still thinking like, oh, I have another chance, or, you know, I still get a chance to play and maybe beat my record, go further this time, it just kind of sucks, because a lot of people are expecting to play both, win or lose. So, you know, it just sucks. It just sucks. Long story short, it sucks. Now, there is one thing I forgot to mention that I'm putting in now, because I do think this was diabolical. I can't sugarcoat this. There's no, like, nice way to put this other than greed, sadly. But the entry fee, when you consider it's like £15 or £17 on the day, there was 64 people who turn up. You know, probably a whole load of people who paid for travel, maybe overnight stays, yada yada yada. The pricing was not adequate. I'm sorry, but there's been more expensive tournaments that have happened in the UK, which had the most phenomenal pricing. Even if it was only like a top 4, the pricing would be insane. Whether it be like rare bays, double rare bays, a multitude of sets, you know, whether it be UX10, Saber, some boosters bundled together. There's the precedent for pricing to ticket cost was way off, and especially when you consider how many players were there contributing to the money that obviously paid for the event, the prizes. So to come first and get a UX10 set, it is diabolical. There's no other way around it. I can't really, there's no justification for this. And also there was some Beyblade merch, or not merch, but stock products, and people were saying random boosters for the UX12, I believe, the Go Circle boosters were selling for near £30, or £30, or just under, something like that, maybe like 25. That is ridiculous. That's like, it seems like what they've done is they've tried to charge what it would cost if you were to buy, for example, one Golden Rock on Japan Amazon on its own, and then add the shipping fee. So you end up paying like 25. But realistically, when you've got multiple, it's obvious it's been purchased in bulk, and the shipping cost goes way down when you buy in bulk. So reasonably, you could get one for like, without shipping, if you knew someone in person, you could get one for like £16. 17, 18 on a high end, like 14 on a low end. So the prices were not justifiable. That's got to change. That's all I have to say on the boring stuff, but I do hope those who attended did enjoy the overall experience. I had a great time. I don't have the feeling of, a wasted trip or anything bleak like that. Me, myself, I went up there on the Saturday, met with a few friends who were also attending, and we had a blast the night before as well. So either way, I had a good weekend. Obviously, I can't speak for everyone. If you turned up on the day and it wasn't that fun for you, I'm sorry, but me personally, I'm glad I went either way. It was awesome to see one of the locals from the communities I normally go to in London win, as well as having quite a few of us make it into Top Cut, which was amazing. So congratulations to Jessica and Sophie, representing the London scene beautifully. So congrats, well done. Let me know your thoughts on these changes, or if you have your own ideas that might help, as all we want is what's best for OP at the end of the day. We want Beyblade to take off. So enough said, and take care, Bladers.